What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Krusty Christie. Hope everyone's staying warm. If you're in a cold climate, it's a little better than it was last night around this time. At -5 degrees. It's 18 degrees with some light snow. While the fires continue to burn in Los Angeles. I thought I read today that new fires have started. A lot of it has to do with the wind. The wind that's the worst thing when it comes to fire, is trying to put out fire, is wind. Because what does wind help do with fires? Help spread the fires. It's not the fires alone that are just destroying all these houses and buildings. It's the wind that's connecting, But they continue to rage on and rage on. Anyways, in this video, I wanted to check it out from the Viking Mindset. I'm subscribed to him. He's a former prison inmate. Tells great stories for us people on the outside. Anyways, in this one, the scariest inmate I met in prison, named Buck, who burned a child molester alive. Graphic. Let's get to it.
So, in prison, most of the guards don't give a fuck, especially if it's a chomo or some type of piece of shit that's hurt a woman or a child. To give you an example, it's like this. Some CEOs are in it for the money and they'll look the other way. I mean, one cell phone you bring in could be $1,000 and it costs you $50 on the streets. One pack of cigarettes that costs $2 can be worth $200 in prison. But then you also got the ones that are down with the sickness. Now in prison, you got politics, and then you got gang politics. I never rolled with the gangs. That just wasn't my thing. I always looked at it like, you gotta be part of something where you gotta stab and bring dope in and hustle. Shit, I could do bad on my own. I already got here to prison by myself. But one gang I respected and really thought about clicking up with was an organization that went after chomos. That was their initiation. I mean, even the guards were part of this shit. This shit was deep. And what they would do is
child
molesters, no contraband. All they would do is work out.
Chomos or child molesters. So many corrupt COs, corrupt officers. That's all these former inmates talk about, is all the officers, all the correction officers are corrupt, paid off.
Contraband, all they would do is work out, read The Art of War, Sun Tzu. They would read Machiavelli the Prince, and they would just strategize on how to get these child molesters. They brought a lot of real justice to victims.
These are the inmates.
True justice that they deserve.
Not the.
I mean, they had officers that were with these gangs. I mean, this shit, they reach out to the victims on the outside, learn about the families. I mean, they were very organized, very underground, had their own way of talking, their own scripture. And this shit was teachers and the nurses, the COs, the convicts. I mean, this shit was deep.
The nurses?
And one of my cellies was part of this organization. And he had 2 years left to do. And the rules are, part of this organization, part of the secret society, is that whether you got 1 day left or 10 years left, when there's a chomo, it's mandatory you damage them. Whether you got to throw them off the top tier, slice them, beat them, headbutt them, whatever it takes.
One day.
They would reach out to a lot of people that were hurt by these chomos. And, this is what they did for a living. They did this 24/7. Sometimes it would take days, weeks, months until they could hit up the chomo. But like I always say, time doesn't exist in prison, only opportunity. So this one particular situation, you had an officer that was down with the sickness. Like I said, you got some that bring in dope and money and cell phones and all types of shit. But then you got some that want to see real justice handed to them. And when I say handed to them, I'm talking about these sick, demonic, child-touching piece of shits. So Buck had 2 years left. He was my cellmate. And he told me when he was younger he was molested, and it's just his vendetta. It's just, he don't give a fuck if he gets a life sentence, a death penalty. He's gonna do whatever it takes. He don't care how long it takes. And, Buck would always try to get at this same child molester. This guy would always lock in the cell. He would always scream anytime the cell opened up. He would always make so much noise. I mean, he was hard to get at. And Buck personally hated him. I mean, this dude would laugh about his crimes. He really was a piece of shit. And he was about to get out soon. So I'll never forget this. The officer comes into our cell, gives Buck something that could start a fire. I don't know exactly what the liquid was, and he gave him something that could light a fire. And they have what's called ICT. And this officer put him on ICT, and he made him basically his orderly. We're in a lockdown unit, and you got to serve your trays to PC, you got to serve the trays to disciplinary confinement, lockdown units, closed management, and he made him his orderly, where he'd serve trays to everybody, no matter what your custody, no matter what your charges. And I remember Buck was packing up his stuff, and I'm like, what happened? He goes, look, I had to do what I had to do. I got paid some money to handle this, but I finally am able to get my hands on this chomo. I remember Buck goes home in about less than 8 months, but I respect it, because at the end of the day, I don't give a fuck if I got 1 second left to do it. You hurt a child, I'm gonna bring it to you. You might think you got away with it, you might think you got a short sentence, but we're coming for you. So dude opens up the flap and he's saying something to dude. The dude kind of puts his face down, Buck throws the incinerary, whatever the flammable liquid was, and then right behind it throws the lighter on him. Dude just catches fire. I mean, right on his blues. The blues are burning. You can smell the flesh burning. Dude's screaming. I mean, they finally popped the door and put the fire out. But I'll never forget that smell. You can never unsmell that. But at the end of the day, dude went to outside court, got a lot of extra time for that shit, looked at the judge and said, hey, that's what happens when you touch kids. Leave our kids alone. You might think you got away with it, but don't think you did for long. Your day's coming. Stay out. Stay free. Us.
I'm going to go back to what he said at the end. Stay out. Stay free.
Away with it, but don't think you did for long. Your day's coming. Stay out. Stay free. Us.
Us. Us. Us. Us. I like this guy, man. He shares stories on the inside that we don't know about. So many corrupt correction officers. Stay out of prison. I mean, now I see see why so many people who get caught for murder or rape or murder, want the death penalty. But you know what? There's people on death row who have been there for like 20, 30 years. So you're still gonna get effed up. Just don't do anything. Don't kill. All the way down to don't steal. Just don't. Just stay out of prison. Stay out of prison. Anyways, like always and forever, take care, be safe, peace, stay warm, pray for the people in Los Angeles fires.